Hello and welcome to Face Off here on France 24. This week, François Hollande made history, but certainly not in the way he wanted. For the first time in the Fifth Republic, a president decided to fire his prime minister immediately after, a municipal election. But when you suffer the worst defeat ever in such an election as the Socialists did last Sunday, and that your approval ratings are at rock bottom, well, you need to act. So Hollande decided to sack his prime minister, Jean-Marc Ayrault, after less than 2 years, and he appointed Manuel Valls, who was until now the interior minister and the most popular minister in his government. Will this gamble pay off? Well, to answer that question, Jean-Marc Gonin with Le Figaro magazine and Philippe Turle with Radio France Internationale. Jean-Marc Gonin, before we get to the cabinet reshuffle, which is happening as we speak, let's go back to Sunday night, a drubbing for the Socialist Party. They thought this election would be bad, but not as bad.
No, it was a devastating result for them, totally unexpected. It was even worse than the first run. I mean, it was worse than their worst expectancies. They lost something like 155. The left altogether lost 155 communities that they used to have, communities of more than 10,000 inhabitants, which is an enormous
It
figure.
never happened before.
It never happened. It's an historical defeat, and it goes deep into the socialist bones, because it's not only the loss of power, but the whole basis of the party is organized through town halls. I mean, they have not so many members in the Socialist Party. The active people are all employed or somehow related to those town halls, and suddenly the whole basis is crumbling. So it's a very, very tough defeat for them.
It's also a very tough defeat for François Hollande. The Socialists said, no, it's a local election, by definition, mayors. However, many people took that occasion to speak their mind about their president.
Well, we're just coming up to the second anniversary of François Hollande's election in May 2012. And these are the first elections where French people have had their say in how the government, how the president, how the prime minister are doing. Even if they're local elections, these have turned into like a referendum, if you like, on François Hollande's policies, what people think of him as a president, what people think of what he's doing. And the end result is that people don't think very much. There are two things that come out of this. First one is, of course, many local representatives and mayors weren't re-elected when in fact they're doing a good job, but they were the victim of this so-so referendum on the national government policy. People have had enough, and it's a way of expressing their disagreement with François Hollande. And the second thing is that, as Jean-Marc was saying, this is undermining the whole policy of François Hollande, what he's doing, and really putting pressure on him to change everything. So it's more than just a local election, it's a national referendum, if you like, of the way things have been going in France. National dissatisfaction about unemployment, about lack of growth, about the way they think François Hollande is not making decisions about the policies he should be introducing, and the fact that they're paying too many taxes. So now, pressures on the president and on this new Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, to come up with the goods to try to change things.
We'll go back to Manuel Valls just quickly. Another lesson from this election is the strong performance of the far-right National Front. Marine Le Pen, the party leader, had said those elections were key. We need to show that we have a strong local anchorage. They won a dozen cities, and they have some 1,500 municipal councillors. She won.
She did. She won. I think she might have been a bit disappointed by the second run, because she thought she would harm the Conservative Party a lot more, the UMP. And in fact, the UMP is the big winner of that election, and they could have expected more. I mean, the trend of the first run was more favorable for them. So it didn't come out as good as it is. But I agree. They have now a local basis, and they have like 14 towns now, towns and cities.
They had none before that election.
They had none. Now they will have to prove themselves in towns and cities, and that might be a bit tricky for them, because their discourse, the speech, is adapted to generalities, the nation, the France, immigration. When you are a local authority, you have to fix the water system, you have to fix the local transportation, you have to fix many things where, well, they haven't got a clue, they have no experience, and I don't know if they are that talented, and that might be very disappointing also for their electors, because suddenly they'll have to run towns, and ideology has not so much to do with how you run a town.
Right. Quickly, Philip, because I want to get to Manuel Valls, but nevertheless, it's a good dynamics, especially looking ahead at the forthcoming elections for the European Parliament that the National Front simply wants to win.
Well, the National Front has changed its perspective over the last few years. Since Jean-Marie Le Pen ran the party, he didn't really want to take over a national role or to take power. He liked to be a troublesome force within the political field to upset the apple cart, if you like. His daughter, Marine Le Pen, is totally different. She wants to be elected. She would like to be president of France. Not much chance of that happening, but they are delighted with the election of the mayors to the citizen towns in France, which is the most they've ever had since they first started winning citizen towns in 1995. As Jean-Marc said, it'll be interesting to see how they got on, but it was a slightly disappointing vote for them because some of their major political figures didn't win their elections in their cities. So it's more really unknown candidates who have taken over, and I think it will be hard for them to run these citizen towns with the lack of experience that they have.
Okay, 24 hours, less than 24 hours, I should say. After that, President Hollande spoke to the nation. He announced that France had a new Prime Minister, Manuel Valls. Let's take a look at who Manuel Valls is, and then we'll discuss whether he can deliver.
A fresh start for an embattled government. Manuel Valls replaces Jean-Marc Ayrault as France's Prime Minister, following the Socialist Party's crushing setback at the polls.
It will be a tight, coherent, solid team, a fighting government.
A more aggressive government, and Manuel Valls fits the bill nicely. He's seen as a choice of the right wing within the Socialist Party, known for his pro-business ideas in opposition to France's notorious 35-hour workweek. As Interior Minister, the 51-year-old's hardline stance on crime and Roma migrants earned him the nickname the Sarkozy of the left.
It is not up to us to welcome these people. It is for the Roma to stay in their countries and integrate over there.
Born a Spaniard in Barcelona in 1962, he became a naturalized French citizen 20 years later. He entered politics early, becoming a member of the Socialist Party when he was only 17. With a presidential ambition of his own, Valls sought the party's nomination for the 2012 election. After coming in fifth in the first round of the party primaries, he endorsed François Hollande and became his campaign spokesman. While many of the party's old guard despise him, Valls has proven popular with voters, consistently topping opinion polls as France's favorite politician, though his approval ratings have slipped recently after his efforts to ban anti-Semitic comedian Dieudonné. The choice of Valls suggests Hollande is preparing to speed up economic reforms and tough spending cuts as mandated by the EU, weeks before France must present detailed plans in Brussels to bring down its deficit.
Jean-Marc Gonin, can Manuel Valls do better than Jean-Marc Ayrault?
He's good at communicating. He's a talented speaker. He has energy. He's really tough, but he will have a problem with his majority. On the 14th of January, Hollande said, I'm a social democrat. He already abandoned the old and dusty socialist ideology. And now he takes as a prime minister the rightist of his party, a social liberal, a Blairite kind of guy, who will have tremendous difficulties convincing the rest of the majority to follow suit. So that will be the big problem, because he might be pro-business. This is, to my mind, that's the solution. They have no choice. But he will have a difficult time in front of Parliament.
Right. As we speak, he's composing his government. We'll have to see how this shapes up. But Hollande also wanted an iron fist, because the criticism against him and his government was that there was no clear management, and people were speaking in every direction, and he needs a cohesive team right now.
Two things. First of all, Manuel Valls is almost the opposite of Jean-Marc Ayrault. Is someone who decides, someone who is always out on all fronts, if you like, someone who is dynamic, someone who is able to speak their mind, and I think that he will be appreciated for that. There will be no change, I don't think, in government policy, because François Hollande is going to find it very difficult to come up with a new package for the French people, having already created the packages that have been, if you like, in the oven over the last few months, being prepared, a responsibility pact which people are still waiting to see in action. I think Manuel Valls will have to make do with that. What will be interesting to see, though, is how the cohabitation between Manuel Valls on one side and François Hollande on the other will carry on over the next few months. He was complimentary, François Hollande, to Jean-Marc Ayrault. I think there's going to be more of an adversary in Manuel Valls, because he is a popular minister, and he may act as a brake, if you like, on François Hollande's chances or his aims of being re-elected in 2017, because Manuel Valls would also like to be president.
Is there a risk of an odd couple, or people are saying, well, François Hollande and Jean-Marc Ayrault were too similar, it's actually good to have someone very different as prime minister?
I fear that with the constitution of the Fifth Republic, the boss is the president and the subordinate is the prime minister. And in this case, the characters are so different. Valls is so impatient, and Hollande is such a person who likes to wait before making decisions, that I don't think the duo will function very well.
Okay, well, we'll have probably a month, maybe years, to figure that out. Thank you very much to both of you. We'll continue following this new government, this cabinet reshuffle that is happening right now on France 24. We'll see you next week.